Hello, my bookish friends. Welcome back. I'm Elizabeth, and this is Reading Riley, where we like to read Riley, not take ourselves too seriously, and have some fun with books. How are you guys? How are you doing? Thanks for hanging out. I have an experiment that I am trying to figure out. I know Goodreads does have some kind of specific recommendations taking into account all of the books that you've liked. That's not what we're doing today. So we're gonna go on Goodreads. If you go onto a specific book to check out on Goodreads and you scroll down, it says people also liked these books. So I'm gonna use that, and I'm gonna take 3 books that I personally love and look them up and see what other people like based on that. I'm gonna see if I like those books. So that's the gist of it, that's the idea. But here's what we're doing. I have 3 books that I've chosen, the first of which is The One by John Mars. I wanna find something fast-paced, something thrilling, something maybe crime related. I don't know. I just love this book. If they can suggest anything similar, I will read it. Next, I'm going to look up The Humans by Matt Haig, which is another one of my favorite books. And this one is a little bit more speculative. I'm looking for something potentially philosophical, something that's heartwarming, that's going to make me think about the world and the people in it and how we live our lives. And then lastly, I'm going to be looking up Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor, and for this one I'm looking for something maybe a little bit fantastical, something with some beautiful lyrical prose. Yeah, so just a little bit of fantasy. So I feel like I've got a good variety of books here to investigate. So that's the plan, and let's see what happens, shall we? All right, so I want to start off by searching for The One by John Mars. So let's go ahead and get that going. I've got my screen recording. The One. Okay, I gave it 5 stars. Yes, I did. We're going to roll down here to readers also enjoyed. Okay, so I've read The Guest List by Lucy Foley. I've read The Push by Ashley Audrain. I've read Home for Dark by Riley Sager. I've read The Night Swim. I've read Midnight Library. I've read His and Hers. I have not read The Wife Upstairs. This is a Jane Eyre retelling. So it sounds interesting. I have not actually read Jane Eyre, but I watched the series adaptation in the 90s, and I really liked it. I need to read Jane Eyre. Delicious twist on a gothic classic. Rachel Hawkins' The Wife Upstairs pairs Southern charm with atmospheric domestic suspense. Perfect for fans of B.A. Paris and Megan Miranda. Don't know Megan Miranda. I like most of B.A. Paris's work. Meet Jane, newly arrived in Birmingham, Alabama. She's a broke dog walker. A community full of McMansions. No one will notice if she lifts the discarded tchotchkes and jewelry off the side tables of her well-heeled clients. Jane's not her real name. She meets Eddie Rochester. He's widowed. Most mysterious resident, his wife Bee, drowned in a boating accident with her best friend. Their bodies lost to the deep. Sure they were. Sure. Oh, not only is he rich, but brooding and handsome. We love to see it. Okay, this is gonna be it. Add that to the list, The Wife Upstairs, book number 1. Moving on. Next, we're gonna look up The Humans by Matt Haig and see what that has to offer us. And I'm saying off the bat, the very first book here I have not read, and that is Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I've read The Invisible Life of Addie LaRue. I also want to read House in the Cerulean Sea, and I own that one. To be taught if fortunate. Never heard of that. Claire and the Sun, I've heard good things about. Before the Coffee Gets Cold, I also want to read. But I want to see more about this. 4 septuagenarians with a few tricks up their sleeves. A female cop with her first big case, a brutal murder. Welcome to the Thursday Murder Club. In a peaceful retirement village, 4 unlikely friends meet weekly in the Jigsaw Room to discuss unsolved crimes. Together they call themselves the Thursday Murder Club. Elizabeth, Joyce, Ibrahim, and Ron Might be pushing 80. Oh, but they still have a few tricks up their sleeves. When local developer is found dead with a mysterious photograph next to the body, the Thursday Murder Club suddenly finds themselves in the middle of their first live case. As the bodies begin to pile up, can our unorthodox but brilliant gang catch the killer before it's too late? Okay, I really want to read this. So this is going to be it. That's it. Book number 2. Moving along. All right, let's see about book number 3. I'm going to look up Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. Okay, Crooked Kingdom. I actually have read Six of Crows and not Crooked Kingdom. But I'm kind of reticent because I'm overloaded on Lee Bardugo right now. I don't know if I want to get into another Lee Bardugo. I've been kind of bombarded with Lee Bardugo. Okay, we'll think about that. A Darker Shade of Magic I own, and I never finished. I started it and I didn't get into it, and I think I've tried it twice. And this is part of my issue with V.E. Schwab, is that a lot of her books I just can't get into. But I have also liked some of them, so that's interesting. Okay, Six of Crows I read. Ember in the Ashes I've read. Siege and Storm, obviously, I just read all of these. This Savage Song, another V.E. Schwab. Why is there so much V.E. Schwab in this recommendation? I'm not interested in the Savage Song. I'm just not, like, the monster premise. I don't know. I'm just not into it. The Wicked King by Holly Black. That is one that I also have not read and have heard good things about. Oh, man. Okay. Should I just do Crooked Kingdom because I've already read Six of Crows? Should I just do that? I don't know. Should I do A Darker Shade of Magic? I mean, it would be interesting to read Holly Black. I've never read that author before. You know what? I'm going to go with The Wicked King because I have never read this author. I already have it marked as want to read too, so let's just do it. I am an idiot. I looked up The Wicked King. I did not even read the description or realize that this is the second book in a series, which shows how much I actually have paid attention to that series because I didn't know that it wasn't even the first book. So I will be reading The Cruel Prince, not The Wicked King. That is the second one. I may read it if I like The Cruel Prince, but I didn't realize this was a fae situation, so I'm kind of interested in that because I haven't read much fairy characters outside of Sarah J. Maas. So I'm interested to see a different author's perspective on the fae and to figure out how the rules are different. I'm interested to see how a different author, their take on the magic system. So that should be interesting. Okay, so I think I'm about halfway through with The Wife Upstairs. We're following Jane and Eddie Rochester, and they live in Alabama Eddie lives in this like really nice neighborhood with all of these high class Stepford Wives type of people, and his wife died in a boating accident like 6 months ago. He accidentally hits Jane with his car and they get to talking. Come to find out, Jane is trying to manipulate him. She wants to lure him in. She has this sordid past where she grew up in foster home after foster home in Arizona, and she's running away from something. I don't remember Jane being manipulative. I remember her being like very plain and simple and sweet and legitimately falling in love with Rochester. So I'm not sure how I feel about this because she's very much manipulating him into loving her. He doesn't like her because she's like them. He likes her because she's different. So why are you trying to adapt if you're trying to lure him? It doesn't make sense. That's where we're at. Okay, so I ended up giving The Wife Upstairs 3.5 stars. Even though I haven't read Jane Eyre, I know the story. So I feel like if I hadn't known that going into it, I may have found this more enjoyable. I'd be surprised if Jane Eyre fans like this book. Mostly because every single character is unlikable. There's not a single likable character in this entire story. Eddie Rochester, unlikable. Jane, unlikable. Bea, unlikable. Everyone in the neighborhood is unlikable. That was really frustrating for me because I see Jane as this pure-hearted, you know, this like pure soul that just genuinely falls in love with Rochester. And even though this is loosely based on Jane Eyre, I still wanted that humbleness and that kind of core values of these characters to come through in this retelling, which it did not at all. So that was disappointing. I think I just didn't gel with the writing style. The point of view and the tense continually changed back and forth, and I think that's pretty common in thrillers to keep you guessing. Throughout this book, it was written in first person, second person, and third person, and then it would switch from like first person present to like second person past tense to third person past tense to third person present. Like, it was just really weird. I found it very distracting from the story, to be honest. I think the writing style in general was just glib and kind of cliched. That being said, I did enjoy this Southern Gothic type vibe, and I thought it was fast-paced and it was really twisty. And of course, like, I knew some things going into it because I know the story, so I had an idea of where it was going, but I did feel like it was really quick and kind of kept me interested, even though there were some other parts that I didn't like. So, I mean, I'm saying I gave it 3.5 stars, but I'm kind of talking myself into marking it down a little bit. I think I may actually change it to 3 stars because I didn't love it, I didn't hate it, and that's what 3 stars is for me. So as far as Goodreads recommending it, maybe not a win. Not a win yet. Okay, you guys, I just started Thursday Murder Club. I'm on chapter 3. I just started it on my way to work, and I smiled the entire way to work. It's so cute and just endearing in so many ways already. We're meeting these characters. We have 4 people in Cooper's Chase retirement home, and they get together every Thursday to solve old murders. You have Elizabeth, who's kind of the leader of the group. She is that loud, outspoken person that is a little bit obnoxious, but in this like really endearing kind of way. And she, I think, started the group. We don't know yet what her job used to be, but they alluded to the fact that it had something to do with murder and crime and stuff. So I think she's like a CIA operative or FBI or something. Abraham was a psychiatrist, maybe. He's 80, he's super polished, he wears like a little handkerchief, and he's very much like high class, I guess you could say. And he's really funny too. And then we have Ron, who I don't know that much about yet, but I know that they know who he is before they know him, so I think he's some kind of celebrity. And all I know is that he has a tattoo, and he seems to be the more like laid back type, but also maybe a ladies' man. And then you have Joyce, who's the newest member, and she used to be a nurse, and that's how she got invited, because they were asking her questions about how long it would take a person to die if they were stabbed this many times in this place, and so on and so forth. And Joyce seems to be low-key, regimented, and strict, and to the point, and likable and sweet. They all refuse to acknowledge that they're friends. They're like, oh, we're not friends. Like, we have a purpose. We're not friends. But they clearly are friends, and they drink wine, and they basically like just get drunk and get together and solve these murders in the Jigsaw room every Thursday. They sign up for the time under the ruse that it's Japanese opera discussion. They're just so funny, and I cannot wait to continue this book. I think it's going to be amazing. I'm about 40% into the Thursday Murder Club. I mischaracterized Ron in my earlier clip. I wanted to clarify, he's very skeptical of everyone and everything, and so that's what he contributes to this group, is because he just assumes that everyone's lying off the bat. He's famous because he was this big like protester in the 70s, I guess, and he was very much, he's always for the underdog and always wanting to stand up for people. I think I said he was laid back. He's not laid back. But he is another really interesting character. The Murder Club have infiltrated the police, and it's so funny how they manipulate the police to get their information. They're just so smart, they're clever and witty. That's probably all I'm going to update you for now until the end, because I don't want to like give you too much away, but that's kind of the beginning. And apparently there's a second book in this. It's a series, so I am so excited because I'm gonna read everything. Also, the author, God, what is his name? I can't look at my phone because I'm using it to record this, but apparently he is a television personality host type person in the UK, and he hosts some kind of reality show or game show, and he's also a comedian of sorts. So I guess this book has blown up in the UK. It just hasn't made it over here yet, but it's on its way. It's here now, and I'm gonna push it on everyone because I can already tell I'm predicting this is a 5-star. If this is not a 5-star read for me, I'm gonna be shocked. All right, so having finished Thursday Murder Club, I have to say, and to eat my words a little bit, I'm not gonna give this 5 stars. Ugh, I hate to say it, but I'm not. I am gonna give it 4.5. I'm knocking it down just half a notch because the pacing at the end was a little bit slow, and it was actually kind of confusing in a good way. I still can't remember this author's name. I'm such an asshole. Richard Osman. Okay. The way he wrote this mystery is really compelling. He did a really great job of misleading me, but that said, I did feel a little bit stupid because I was having a hard time keeping up with like who was who, and there's so many characters. There's so many characters in this book. Obviously, you have your 4 main stars, but then there's just so many more, and so having to like remember every time they said a name, like, okay,
that's from that person, they're from the police department, they're from the past, they're from the history of this church, they are from the mob, they are from, you know.
So it's all of these things all over the place that I'm having to keep up with, which is very much intentional because he wants to throw you off the scent, right? I was having to like very much replay everything in my mind, like, oh, okay. God, I think I cut my bangs a little too short. That's all right. They'll grow back. But that being said, this book was so charming and so captivating for 99% of the time. I really loved the idea that Richard Osman is taking these 4 people in their 70s and saying they're just like everybody else. Just because you're older does not mean you are less of a person. And I feel like as a society, we tend to treat older people like they don't matter anymore. And the opposite is true. They have all these experiences. They are so wise, and they are just as curious and insightful as anyone else. And so I love that this spotlight is drawn to this older generation of murderinos. They're murderinos. Like, they just want to solve crimes, and I love it. I want to be these people when I'm in my 70s and 80s. If I make it that long, like, who knows? You think of all these people and all of their experiences, and you're trying to solve a mystery, and you say like, oh, well, we need someone who's an expert in this. Oh, well, you have all these people that have lived all these lives and have all these experiences and this wisdom, and you could just pluck out what you need from each person. There's so many resources. You're just surrounded by resources to solve a mystery, and I just love that concept. I love the idea. I thought it was really great. I highly recommend this book. It was just absolutely charming. And I can't wait to read the second book and follow these characters because I love them so much. I think Elizabeth is my favorite just because she's loud and she's smart. She's like the Sherlock of this book. I'm 2 books in, 1 to go. Second book, Thursday Night Murder Club, was a success. Goodreads recommended. I count that as a yes. So now we have 1 kind of not, 1 yes. So this last book is going to be the decider of whether or not I can trust Goodreads. So guess I'll start getting into it. Okay, guys, so there's bad news and good news, I suppose. The bad news is I've already read this book. I don't remember when or where or how, but you ever have a moment where you're like, wait a minute, I know this. And you're having like deja vu, because that's how I'm feeling with this book. I don't know what happens. I don't know how it ends. I don't know if I finished it, but there's something about Jude's sister's pink hair and a letter about poisonous mushrooms in a woman's hand, and I'm just getting like, okay, like I'm getting the vibes, like I know this somehow. I didn't have it marked on Goodreads, so I must have read it a long time ago. But here's the thing, did I not finish it because I didn't like it? Or did I not continue in the series because I didn't like it? Or did I read it before the second book came out in the series? I don't know. Good news is I'm still gonna read it because I have no idea what happens. I've committed myself to this and I'm gonna do it. So that's where we're at. We're following Jude, and she is a human with a twin sister and an older sister growing up in the human world. One day, this fairy comes in, barges into their home, kills both of their parents, and sweeps them off to fairyland. Her older sister is Fae. So she's growing up in fairyland as a human and constantly being told how weak she is, and not just being told but shown. They take advantage of her, they manipulate her and make a joke of her, and so all she wants is to feel like she has control over her own life. She wants to be Fae, even though she doesn't want to admit it, but she wants to feel powerful and not feel vulnerable. So she makes a deal with one of these princes. He basically like gives her a spell where she is no longer susceptible to any kind of fairy BS, but in return she has to spy for him. Okay, so I just finished The Cruel Prince. I liked it. I don't know why I didn't have the recall that I liked it, because as I was reading it, I remembered more and more kind of as I went. Maybe I didn't enjoy it as much the first time. I don't know. I didn't mark it on Goodreads, but I did like it. I loved that Holly Black has these she's really great at doing the morally gray characters. Both Jude and Carden, I feel like, are both morally gray, and I appreciated her kind of toying and towing that line. Another thing I noticed, having just read the Shadow and Bone trilogy, was that there wasn't a whole lot of romance in this book, similarly to the Shadow and Bone series. But here's the marked difference, is that there was tension. I don't need a ridiculous amount of smut in order to enjoy something, and to enjoy a romance, or not even a romance, but a relationship. But what I do need is that tension and that heightened sense. I felt like this book gave that to me, even though like they only kissed once, and that was enough. I felt like it was enough. It still made me feel excited and piqued my interest. So yeah, I think I will continue on in this series. Okay, so in conclusion, let's do a little wrap up here. I actually don't own any physical copies of these books, so I will pop them up right there. First of all, The Wife Upstairs we read. So this one I ended up giving 3 stars. It was so-so. I don't think it's a bad book. I just think it wasn't for me. I think other people will enjoy this book. And not that I didn't enjoy it, but there were just certain biases that I personally had going into this that diminished my experience a little bit. So I do recommend this for people that want a fast-paced domestic thriller, but I gave it 3 stars. So as far as this process of testing Goodreads recommendations, maybe not so much. Secondly, The Thursday Murder Club, I absolutely enjoyed, loved this book. Highly recommend you all to read it. I thought it was so charming and so heartwarming, and that was kind of a perfect recommendation based on The Humans. I gave it 4.5 stars, but I think this recommendation and the way that I'm using it on Goodreads was perfect. 100% worked. And then lastly, we had The Cruel Prince, which unfortunately I had read before, but I didn't remember, so that was kind of a weird thing. I think this is the first time that I've reread something not realizing that I had already read it. So I guess I'm officially a bookworm. I'm sure some of you can relate to that. I think I'm going to give The Cruel Prince, I think I'm gonna give it 4 stars. I actually enjoyed it. It's definitely YA. It's in the YA genre, so is Strange the Dreamer, so that makes total sense. So, you know, it wasn't as epic as some other fantasy reads, but that being said, for what it is, I actually really did enjoy it. It took me a little bit of time to get into it at the beginning, but once I did get connected to the characters, I very much enjoyed it. I enjoyed Holly Black's characterizations. I loved that she was able to make these characters morally gray and make their motivations seem plausible, and I enjoyed the tension that she was able to bring between these characters, and I will be continuing on in the series. So as far as a comparison to Strange the Dreamer, yeah, I thought it worked well, and I feel like it was a good suggestion. I guess overall, we're not necessarily testing Goodreads here, we're testing what all the other people on Goodreads like compared to what I like, because clearly this is linked to an algorithm based on how people have rated these books. I don't know if this is really a test of Goodreads. It's a test of you guys, of y'all. So really, it's kind of a way for me to connect with other people in the reading community, if you think about it. I would say our last choice was a success. So overall, we have 2 out of 3 that I enjoyed. I'm going to say this process worked, and I recommend trying it yourself. That being said, if you guys like this kind of content, please consider subscribing. And if you want to make sure you don't miss anything from me in the future, go ahead and click that bell, hit that like button right down here. What do you guys think? Have you read these books? Have you tried this method? Are you interested in trying this method? At the end of the day, it's all for fun. That's why I do this. That's why a lot of us are on BookTube. Just to have fun with books. It's part of my mantra. That's what it is. A success. Thank you guys so much for watching again. I appreciate you, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Don't forget that life is short, so read, Riley. This is Blue Blue. He's just an old man. Just an old man. Just chilling.